Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing Spooktober Day 10. We are 10 days in, about a third of the way done with Spooktober. It has not felt that way. I feel as if we are still on the second, maybe third day of Spooktober, but here we are. I decided to finally go with some classic movies instead of some shot on video, fake documentary, very low budget type of movies, to finally go into the classics. And what better choice than to choose a Hammer horror film starring Christopher Lee, directed by Terrence Fisher, I believe. Yes. And this is Christopher Lee's second time as Dracula. Of course, we all know him from the original Dracula, which I actually haven't seen yet. Again, I have not seen many, if any, Hammer horror films, so this is my first one. I'm happy to report that it was Dracula, Prince of Darkness. Oh my god. Okay, so I absolutely loved this movie after the first, I think, 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. Basically, from the moment where somebody is killed upside down, the throat is slashed, and the blood is raining down upon a pile of ashes that we actually get some background on, which I guess is sort of a flashback to an earlier Dracula film. I guess the only other one, but because we see Peter Cushing in the beginning of the film as Van Helsing defeating Dracula. There's a whole intro kind of explanation to what the scene is showing. And Christopher Lee as Dracula melts in the snow, becomes a big old pile of ashes, and then the movie starts. And we get your very typical crew of people, a set of brothers and the wives, crossing through the country. And they run into some mysterious figures. We meet this very amazing monster hunter guy. I don't even know who he is, but he was absolutely wonderful. He saves a woman's body from being sort of desecrated by a priest, because the priest believes that the daughter of this woman was a vampire, and so he's not giving her the burial that she deserves. And this priest just kind of runs in, shoots at them, and rescues the daughter's body, and we're right off to the races. And he goes to town, meets our new cast of characters that eventually go to Dracula's castle, and then from there we get your very typical Dracula story, where slowly people are killed off. We see Dracula's wives. We get some really great kills, but to go back to the pile of ashes, those ashes are put into a crypt by Dracula's assistant, who can go in the sun, because that's in every Dracula story ever, is that he has to have a assistant who can travel through the sunlight, and who is not a vampire, obviously. But one of our guests, one of the brothers, is hung upside down and his throat slashed, so that the blood drains out of his body and into the pile of ashes. Excuse me. And what's amazing is that in just one shot, well, it's not really one shot, you can kind of see it fade in and out between the many shots, but you see it, the camera stands still, it just phases, and you watch this pile of ashes turn into a skull, and then the skull turns into a skeleton, and the skeleton turns into a really disgusting, gooey corpse. And then just keeps going until we get the final stage before it's recognizably Christopher Lee, because we do not want that to be our first look at Christopher Lee as Dracula, because that comes about 10 minutes later, when our guests kind of realize what is going on. They're trying to leave, and Dracula makes his big appearance, and he comes at the screen with red eyes and his fingers clawing at our characters, and they all go scream, and then they run out the castle, and the rest of the movie happens. And it's from that moment, when the blood starts pouring on the ashes, that I really started to enjoy this movie, because I was not expecting that. It looks like a pretty disgusting body. Blood is just continually pouring into this coffin, and it's just, oh my gosh. I really enjoyed this movie. If you don't know the story of this movie, you should know it. I think everybody knows the story of Dracula. He has somebody who he seduces with promises of riches and all that to go and stop the characters from escaping and from destroying the body of Dracula while he's sleeping. Christopher Lee is terrifying in this movie, honestly. He does not seem human at all. I mean, he's a great actor, one of the best of all time, arguably. And to see him acting his way as a vampire is so convincing. It is kind of eerie and weird, but I'm all for it. I love Christopher Lee. I've always said he's one of my favorite actors, and I will blind buy a movie just to see him. Again, I bought many Dracula movies. Well, by many, I mean like 3 or 4, but that's a lot for one focus for me on a whole. But Christopher Lee is absolutely amazing in this again. We have an amazing ending in this movie, which I won't spoil, but it's a very fun way to end the movie, and it's just like a Dario Argento movie. Right when the action is done, bam, there's the credits, and that's it. So oh my gosh, I am so happy I finally watched a Hammer horror movie, and one with Christopher Lee. This one was lovely. I love the set designs of the castle. I love all the different characters. I love all the weird people coming together to give the thoughts on whatever's going on. I'm a huge fan of Dracula and the original kind of story version, but to see all these different film adaptations of it, I never really get bored of it because each one has the charms and the strengths, and most of them have a weakness in that it's always the first 30 minutes. I never really enjoy the setup to Dracula films because it's all the same, to me at least, where we get your initial scene of introducing Dracula, who he is, whether that's through rumors from the townspeople, through the introduction of the castle as whoever our protagonist is in this movie is coming closer to the castle, and they're like, oh, who lives there? And of course the carriage driver is like, oh, you don't want to go there. And it's like, oh, it's not on this map. That's weird. And it's like, oh, just because it's not on the map doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And they go back and forth. That's in every movie, and it's in this one too. It's something I don't really care for in my Dracula movies is the first 30 minutes. But always in these movies, Dracula shows up at maybe minute 35, maybe minute 40, and the rest of the movie is always awesome. So yeah, I think I'm going to watch Nosferatu next. And of course, I've seen it before, so I won't be doing a video on it, but eventually I will, I think, eventually, to discuss the significance of that film. But yeah, I'm in a vampire mood. This movie just really cranked up kind of the stakes for the other movies that I'll be watching for this month. I have a good set of movies to go through left. So thank you all so much for watching, and please let me know what your thoughts are on this movie, if you've seen it, and if not, have you seen any movies with Christopher Lee as Dracula, and recommend them to me. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of the night.